Okay, good morning, everybody, and our weekly morning shiur. And we are standing really 2 weeks, less than 2 weeks from Rosh Hashanah. And in order to open this shiur, we want to go through the parashiot of the Shavua that we had in the last few weeks, that are all connected, of course, to Rosh Hashanah at the time that we're standing. As we always say, that the Torah is not just history or stories, it's much more than it. It's living life according to the Torah. And the Parshat Shavua that we read in the same Shavua, the same week, is really telling us what to do this week. So also our Parsha, and whatever we went through is also the same thing. If we remember, a few weeks ago, we had Ki Tetzeh, then we had Ki Tavo, and now we have Nitzavim Vayelech. Now, Ki Tetzeh is, as we explained, is when you go out on war. So the Kadosh Baruch Hu will give you the enemy in your hands. And as we explained, talking about our enemy, we're talking really about Yetzer Hara. Yetzer Hara is the worst enemy of all. And by the way, this is not something that, okay, I had the fight with him, I won the fight, and now I can rest. No, Yetzer Hara, you can never rest. It's always. And that's what we're doing here in this world. Unfortunately, because of this, sometimes people missing the point. People think that we came to this world to fight Yetzer Hara. So this is our job, fight Yetzer Hara. Avodat HaMidot, what we call, it's like work on yourself and fight against Yetzer Hara. But people are missing a point. So the Torah is telling us, first of all, Ki tetzeh lemilchama lo ovecha. A few weeks ago, first of all, you had to go out on a war against Yetzer Hara. And if you do this, God will give you the victory. God will give you Yetzer Hara and you will control it. Then, as we said, the mission is not fighting Yetzer Hara. What is the mission? The mission is to do good. Yetzer Hara is there to disturb us. So Yetzer Hara is the mean. If we fight him, it's the means to get to our target, which is worshiping God, doing mitzvahs, loving each other. That's the idea, not the fight itself, but what we do after the fight. That's exactly the thing. So, okay, so we went out on the fight, and then we won, and now, Ki Tavo. The parsha that we read last week is Ki Tavo, is talking about Mitzvat Bikurim. And as we explained, Mitzvat Bikurim is telling us, to each one of us, that here we are standing near Rosh Hashanah, Chodesh Elul, and we have to come to God with a present, with the fruits of the deeds that we did. And that's exactly the idea of Ki Tavo. When you come to the country that God gave you, and as we explained, the Chaim HaGadol says, Ki Tavo, to the country, is talking about Olam Haba, not this world, the next world. How are you going to come? Especially now we're going to stand in front of Rosh Hashanah, in front of God, and we have to give him the fruit, the first fruit that we brought. Of what? Of the deed we did. So we fought Yetzer Hara, we won, or we are still with the fight, of course, as we said, but during this, we also did some good things. And those good things are the Mitzvat Bikurim. Those are the things that we come and stand in front of God on Rosh Hashanah. So now, if you remember last week, we went through curses and things that really, when you read them, it's very hard to read them. So terrible things. Mother eating their children and all those like really terrible things. And after this, what do you think the people think? The people are really terrified that they don't know what to do. So then we get to our parsha. Atem nitzavim hayom. Comes Moshe Rabbeinu and tells everybody, you see, yes, we see what happened last week. But here you're standing in front of God. In other words, God, the merciful God, though you were not saints, you did some things that we don't mention now, but you're standing here. And that brings us to something that we say every morning. We say, Modeh ani lefanecha melech chai v'kayam, she'echezarta bi nishmati bechemla rabba emunatecha. I thank you, God, that you gave me my neshama back. Rabba emunatecha. Your faith is great. What does it mean? Your faith is great. So a lot of people think the faith we're talking about, our faith in God. But that's not the right explanation. One of the most beautiful explanations that I saw is that we are thanking God that he woke up this morning and he gave us the neshama back, and Rabba Emunatecha, His belief in us is great. God believes in us. You know, this is an unbelievable fact that if you know, sometimes we are so muddled up, so many problems, and we think to ourselves, who are we to go and stand in front of God after all the bad things we did? So here you see, you woke up to another morning, which means that God still wants you in this world. Nevertheless, Rabbi Munatecha, God believes in us, and He believes us in a great belief, Rabbi Munatecha, that we can do it. We can do the change. We can do the good in the eyes of God. It reminds me years ago when one of my children was in school and he had some difficult time. And the teacher took him to have a personal talk with him. And in the talk, she told him, Nathaniel, I see you have hard time. I want to tell you something. You should understand. You should believe in yourself. You should believe that you can do anything you want because you can. And from this day on, he really took those words to the heart and he really tried and believed that he can do the change, and he did. And this is each one of us. We're standing in front of God, and sometimes we don't believe in ourselves. But if you're standing in front of God, if you want to do something, the first thing is to believe that you can do it. If you don't believe you can do it, you're not going to do nothing. So this is why we wake up in the morning. And while we say thank you to God, which is the Misrat HaBikurim, the first day, we say, first thing in the morning, we say, thank you, God, that you gave the neshama back, that you revived us, and we woke up to another beautiful day. And remember, Rabbi Munatecha, God, our Father in heaven, believes in us. And how important it is when somebody believes in you. We all know it gives us courage, it gives us powers when we know that somebody believes in us and believes that we can do it. So if God believes in us, wow, this is nothing better than this. So we have to wake up in the morning with special force to do the good in the eyes of God. And as Moshe Rabbeinu is telling Am Yisrael, Tem nitzavim hayom kulchem, here you see, with all the things you did, you're still here because God believes in you. And He knows that you can do the change. He knows that you can do the good in the eyes of God. So we look in ourselves. And we sometimes think, we did so many bad things. And now everything inside is so mumble that we really don't know what's going on. We see everything is like a chaos. We don't know how to stand in front of God. And it reminds me, a few years ago, we had a flood in our old warehouse. And also we had difficulties managing this warehouse. So we moved to a new warehouse. And when we moved and bring all the lorries in order to take all the stuff we had in the old warehouse, it looks terrible. After a flood, boxes are open and things are wet. And really, it was a bad picture to see. And when they took out all the things from the lorries, it didn't look good. So the first thing is you look at it and you see chaos and you see terrible things and you don't know what to do. But we started organizing things. And slowly but surely, we found out a few unbelievable things. First of all, the damage was not so bad as it looked. Because when we started organizing things, and we took from here the leg of the chair, and here the seat and the back, and we connected, because it all was, because of the flood, was separated, and we put things together. And suddenly we find out that there are things, we had furniture, they didn't even know that we've got them. And here now, after we organized it, we saw those beautiful chairs that we couldn't sell and all this beautiful stuff we had, and it wasn't so terrible. There was damages, but it wasn't like it looked in the beginning. And that's exactly what we should do now. We should take everything out and organize it, and then we will find out that our situation is not so terrible. Our sages say, even the villain of Am Yisrael, even the posh'im, they are full with mitzvahs, like a rimon, like a pomegranate, full with mitzvot. So if we will understand and learn how to look at things and organize it, and you always have to understand that Yetzer Hara, as we said, is always with fighting you. And one of the biggest success is to convince you that you're evil. Convince you that you're terrible. Convince you that you've got no chance. First of all, he convinces you to do the sin. Then he tells you, oh, well, you've got no chance to do tshuva. But our Father in heaven, he woke up this morning and he believes in us, as we said. So of course we have a chance. The problem is everything is not organized. So first of all, let's organize things and we look in and find all those mitzvahs we did. Not what we didn't do, what we did, all the good things. And you will find out that we did a lot of good things. So now, with this feeling, we can change, we can advance, we can go a step forward. And this is the first basic things in order to do the right step and go to God, is to organize things and understand and realize that the situation is not so terrible. And it doesn't matter what you did and what you are, you did also good things. And the idea that God believes in you gives you the power to go. The Torah tells us, "Ubacharta b'chaim," you will choose life. And this is again, what do you mean choose life? You know somebody who wants to die? Everybody will choose life, but that's exactly the point. What is life? We are not animals. Animals also live. They breathe, they eat, they run, they walk. Is this life? No. Definitely, that's not the idea, Ubacharta b'chaim. What God is telling us, you will choose life. Choose the right life. Life of a human being, not life of a beast, not life of an animal. Not waking up in the morning, eating, drinking, sleeping, watching television, reading the paper, and that's it, that's life. And going to holidays and buy new clothes and eat good. That's life. That's an animal. That's not life. So God is telling us, you have to understand, in order to live the right life, you have to choose the right life. It's like Rav Pinkus Zatzal says, that it's like a lizard. When you take the tail still moves, but it doesn't live anymore, but it moves. So it's like compares this to those who walk in the street, but they're really not living. They are really dead because they killed every good thing that they've got inside. But as we said, the situation is not so terrible. So we have to wake up and start living the real life. What is the real life? There is a psalm that we say from Tehillim morning and evening every day till Hoshana Rabbah. And this is the David Hashem Ori V'ishi. And in this psalm, David HaMelech asked, Achat sha'alti me'et Hashem. There's one thing that I asked from God. One thing. He's very humble. I only asked one thing. What is this one thing? Shivti bevet Hashem kol yemei chayai, lachazot benoam Hashem ulevaker be'echalo. I want to sit in the house of God all the days of my life and see the beauty and enjoy the house of God. David HaMelech, he is a king. He's got a kingdom to rule. He has wars to go. And also, he's a human being. He needs to sleep. He needs to eat. How can he sit the whole day in the house of God? But it's exactly the point. What David HaMelech means, and what we are saying every day and night, this period of time in Chodesh Elul, is that we want to have the feeling of sitting in the house of God in everything we do. In other words, when you walk in the street, you walk with God. Shiviti Hashem lenegdi tamid. I will see God in front of my eyes all the time. I walk on the street, God is with me. I go to work, God is with me. I go to sleep, God is with me. I wake up, I eat, whatever I do, not only when I sit and learn, not only when I'm sitting together and learning a shiur, all the time, says David. I want to feel God all the time. I want to be in the household of God all the time. I want to be a ben bait. I want to be in the house of God all the time. And this is an unbelievable request. And we can do this. We have the fight between the physical part and the spiritual part, but the idea is to combine both, because this is what we are. We are a combination of spiritual part, the neshama, and a physical part, the body. And the idea is to combine them together. And if we combine them in the right way, everything we do is Shiviti Hashem Nagid Tamid, is sitting in the house of God all times. That's what David HaMelech is telling us. And then he says, "Lachzot b'noam Hashem," to see the glory of God, to enjoy God, to have this unbelievable feeling. But we all know that this feeling is really waiting for us in the next world. He says, no. If you go in the right way here in this world, if you put God in front of you all the time in anything you do, you're already going to enjoy this feeling of this relationship between you and God, this closeness, this being together with God. It's an unbelievable feeling. Said David HaMelech, levaker be'echalo. What is levaker? Levaker can be like visit, but levaker, says our Sharish, levaker is like from a word bikoret, to criticize. What does it mean? Says David HaMelech something very interesting. Sometimes people think that they are on the right way and they just go like automats. They don't even check if they are still on the right way or not. And unfortunately today it's very difficult sometimes to stay all the time on the right way because there are so many people and influence of people around us that sometimes they can distract us and give us wrong ideas that are built like they look from the outside like good ideas, but they're really very bad ideas and not the right way to go. So says David HaMelech, even though I want to sit in the house of God all the time and have this feeling, I want you also to give me the power to stop and criticize myself to see if I'm still on the right way. Even if it's in the middle of a shiur, even if it's when I'm doing a mitzvah, even if I think that I'm with God all the time and I do only what God wants me to do, I have to check myself if I'm still on the right way. And this is sometimes the best way, because sometimes we get to this, we're just doing things because we're used to doing. For example, like we woke up in the morning, we says Moderni. Did we really think about what we're saying? And this is the right time to start thinking about what we're saying. Moderni lefanecha, oh my dear God, I'm thanking you. Melech, you are the king. You gave me back my neshama. Do we think about what we say? There are people that from the outside look like they are going in the right way. But if we look inside, unfortunately, we find out that it's not exactly what we see from the outside, unfortunately. And we sometimes forget our mission and our target. Our target is not only us, it's the whole world. We say it in Aleinu Shabeach. The day will come that God will be one in the whole world. And this is our mission. But first of all, we have to crown the king on ourselves. First, we have to be good in order to spread this message to the whole world. There is this story from the Magi Midubna, and I will put it in our words. There was this neighborhood that the government decided to destroy. It was old and terrible. And to give everybody of the people in this neighborhood a big amount of money to build a new home in a new area, which was one of the best places in the country. In the meanwhile, while they were building their new home, the government gave them caravans and all those things to live in, like when you remember when the Gaza Strip, everybody came to Israel and they put them in those caravans. So exactly like this, they built the whole town of caravans and told the people here, this is the money, start building your home. While you are building your home, your permanent home, you will stay here. And yes, everybody liked the idea to build a new home, and they started very enthusiastic, they were very excited. But then they found out it's very hard, it's not easy. And some people says, you know what, I don't need to work so much. So I want to enjoy life now. So people started to invest in their caravans and put a lot of money into it. A new kitchen, a television, they had nice holidays, went to shop and to dine. They had money. They were given a lot of money. So some people spend a little more than what they had on their own personal needs now in this caravan. Other people, wise people, they understood if we want to have a nice home, a permanent home, this is only a temporary home. I'm not going to invest in temporary home to build gold fluxes and put the most beautiful furniture there. Is stupid. I will eat what I need. I will put here all the things, the good facilities. I don't need to suffer. But in order to have a comfort life, and the most of the money I've got and my effort I'm going to put in building this new home. Eventually came the day, and buses came to take all the people to the new neighborhood. So they're driving for a few hours and they get to this place. And you know, the picture was not very nice. Some people went and they had this plot with nothing on it because they put all the money in the caravan. There was nothing left to build their home, the permanent home. Some people had a hole, dig the hole in the ground in order to build the base. Some people had the base, had the frame, and very few people had a full, beautiful home. So most of the people says, okay, we want to go back to the caravans. You know what? Okay, we did a mistake. Let us go back to the caravans. We're going to live there. At least we've got something there to sleep, something to eat. The government tells them, sorry, while we drove here, we went with bulldozers, with tractors on the field, and we straightened up the whole thing, and there's nothing there. All the caravans are gone. There's nothing there, nothing to go back to. This is exactly what's going to happen to us. We are a temporary resident now. And sometimes, instead of investing in the permanent resident, which is next world, we invest in this world and spend all our efforts and money and things that we've got on this temporary world. So when we come to the next world, what's going to wait us? Is it going to be an empty plot, a hole in the ground, or maybe only a frame of a house? Or if we are clever, a beautiful home is going to wait us. And here, there is another unbelievable lesson. Imagine to yourself this neighborhood. You have this beautiful home because you were clever and you built the house in a permanent place. But unfortunately, when you open your window, when you walk up in the street, everything around you is nothing. It's like a desert. You have half-built houses, plots, not really good electricity. What's the feeling living in a place like this? So, okay, you've got a beautiful home, but you live in the worst environment that can be. So what would be the clever thing for those people who build their own home? To make sure that also your neighbor builds a home. Not only thinking about yourself, think about your neighbor. So then maybe your house won't be the most beautiful house, but you will have neighbors with beautiful homes, and you all together will have a beautiful, unbelievable environment. And that's a lesson for us. When you go and stand in front of God on Rosh Hashanah, stand not alone, stand with your friends and tell God, you see, I was not the only one who thought about the next world. I'm not the only one who brought you the fruits of the first thing I did. I made sure that also my friend, also he managed to bring fruit because I helped him. This is Atem Nitzavim Hayom Kulchem. The Torah says, you are all together standing now here in front of God. Together. That's the power. If we want to win in Rosh Hashanah, we have to be together, not standing alone. I wish all of us that we will understand that the war with Yetzer Hara is only a mean to do good. And to do good in the eyes of God is not only for ourselves, also for our friends, for everybody. And then we'll understand that every morning when we wake up, God tells us, I believe in you. I gave you another day. So if God believes in us, we should believe that we can do the change. We can do the good in the eyes of God, and not only us, but also our friend. So we all together are going to stand in front of God on Rosh Hashanah and say, here God, we brought you, all of us, the good fruits of the deeds. Thank you and have a nice day. All the best.